All right, welcome. Um, Today I had Arslan Ather on their podcast
From
You-
Desi Collective.
from Desi Collective. You were not there; it was just me and him solo.
I was there in spirits.
You were there in spirits, but it was a great podcast. We talked about writing, we talked about Pakistani literature, we talked about Fatima Bhutto, we talked about books, lots of books, and it's a fun one. I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, just like everybody else, I'm looking forward to hearing it. So
Enjoy. Previously, we used to do intros, but we suck at intros so much. Like, they're the most awkward thing for me and my brother to do. Like, we've had people on, and we had like literally intros written, and we would like fumble, and it's
Oh,
so
dear.
embarrassing. So we just thought like we're just gonna skip the whole thing. But thank you for coming on. I'm very very grateful and excited for this conversation.
Yes, so am I.
So I got in touch with you, I think about last year. I still don't remember how I got in touch with you. Do you remember this at all?
No.
I don't either, right? So
Yeah, it's
we'll
totally
keep it in
fine.
secrecy. We'll keep it in secrecy. I think that's
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
charm of this all. I
Perfect.
don't remember how I got in touch, but it's been a pleasure working with you, though. Over the years, we've been in contact and like
Yeah.
talking about the Desi Collective, which I'll get to eventually. But I was very, very fascinated that someone in Pakistan was just taking an initiative towards the literary arts. And out of anything, I was just very proud that there was people aware of that
Yeah.
there is a gap between readers and writers. Talk about that a little bit. I want your input on what you saw, what vacancy did you see, and how did you fill it?
It sort of started when I left my job. So I used to work at a company called Mango Buzz before. So
Oh,
once
yeah,
I
I know
left
Mango.
there, yeah.
I
So
think I remember maybe Sajir recommended me to you because we were in contact
Probably.
on Twitter, and then she was like,
Probably.
there's this really cool. I think it was her. I'll give her the credit for this.
All right, perfect. So thank you, Sajid. But yes, I was there for quite a while. And what I loved about that job was that I could write and have it be published.
Yeah.
And I was like, fantastic, great, this is what I need. But as soon as I left that job, I realized that there was nothing really for me to sort of work with. Pehle, there used to be a publication called The Herald.
Yeah.
And Herald was like a big thing. People loved The Herald, but it shut down like right before I quit my job. So I was like, what do I do? Yeah. So I sort of realized that I had to pitch to like international publications and things like that. And I didn't feel I was quite ready to do those things. Or I wasn't as confident, at least, to have like fiction and things like that go up.
Yeah.
So I was like, what do I do? And I sort of entered a phase of not writing at all, it's never healthy. And I was having a conversation with a friend about this, and he's like, what are you talking about? You can do something about this. I was like,
Yeah.
right. So yeah, I took a little nudge from someone else to point it out, okay, you can do something if you put your mind to it. And it was a very basic idea when we sort of came up with it. But as it grew and like sort of steeped in our mind a bit, then we sort of came up with what it is now.
No,
So yeah,
the best part about that is that it's I don't know if you have it strictly restricted to Pakistani writers, but just seeing, but majority of them I would assume would come from Pakistan.
yeah, majority are Pakistan. Yeah.
The Pakistani background, because I don't live in Pakistan anymore, but like I was also part of it. It's just very nice to read those stories coming firsthand, straight from Pakistani writers, Pakistani mouths.
Yeah,
It's just there's a whole different flavor to those stories when you know that this is authentically coming from like firsthand experiences.
exactly.
I also wanted to know, what kind of literature do you write? Like what kind of writing do you do? And how does it fit in the narrative of Desi Collective?
So I sort of write, it's going to sound really weird, but I sort of write with the sole intention of confusing the reader. I enjoy that process.
I'm a massive fan of anything Christopher Nolan, and whenever I walk out, I'm thoroughly confused. I'm like, what just happened?
What just happened? Do we like this character? Do we not like a lot of these things? I love to sort of play with people's perception of others and like their moral compass and things like that. So a lot of the stories I make up in my mind, it is to thoroughly confuse the person who's reading it. so that I mean I don't know where to put that in terms of genre, but that's just how I sort of deal with or think of the stories that I do. And I think I write mostly again from a very Desi experience as much as possible as I can.
I don't
And I
think you.
also write
I don't think there's any other way to write because we're so
exactly,
Desi, right? We're so engulfed with
exactly.
that society. There's no other voice that comes in our heads.
I think it's important to also say that because over here, because I grew up in the Middle East, but even then, like I saw the similarity between those places that we were taught to sort of appreciate or look up to Western literature, sort of write like that. So I think that's a very big, at least over here, I think it's a very important distinction to make
Yeah.
in this context. But that aside, like again, just writing about things that I sort of see or think about, and I also I try as much to focus on relationships, but outside of like, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, but like sort of
Yeah.
child, parent, siblings, friends, things like that. So generally those things. And I think the way it fits into Desi Collective, I try not to put myself in it as much as possible.
Yeah.
I've only, there's only been 3 issues, but I've only put myself in one. And I don't intend on, unless I need to be there to fill space.
Yeah.
That's the only time I've put myself in, because I was like, acha, this scene is a little empty, so I'll add something.
Yeah.
So I try not to put.
So do you like wearing the writer hat more or the editor hat more? Because I assume being an editor is a lot more harder just because of the content that you're receiving. You have to curate it. You need to know where everything fits. Like when I was making my book, not writing it, like when I had written it, but then I was making it, like charting where the poems were gonna go and all those things. That was the hardest part, as opposed to writing the content. Like that was a lot easier for me. But when I was sitting and like making sure that, oh, this poem has to flow with this, and then like how is it gonna look on the page, that was just mind-bogglingly hard.
Yeah. No, I much prefer wearing the writer hat because it is something that I know. I think even if I get to like 3 years of doing this or more, I'll still prefer taking the writer hat, because I think with editing, you're dealing with something that someone else has written from their like core, from their heart, and you're sort of you're not trying to find faults, but you have to sort of try and perfect it as much as possible. So I understand what a writer goes through when they get edits, and it can be a little disheartening. So I understand that, and I always feel or I always empathize for the writers whenever I do send them notes and things like that. But I'm like, again, like you said, sort of figuring out the flow, figuring out where things go, all of those things. The act of writing is so much easier than that.
And then because you want to be respectful with the criticism as well. You don't want to be, because there is always criticism, and then some people take it a lot easier than other people do. Like when I started out writing, the worst mistake I ever did was showing my writing to my friends, because it's really hard for them. You put them in a position where it makes it difficult for them to properly critique it. Like, let's say if they are making valid criticisms about something of your writing, you might take it to heart, and then suddenly you're restraining your relationship with them. So I did a lot of that in the beginning years, but then you sort of have to develop a thick skin of rejection. Like God knows how many manuscripts, how many poems I've sent out, getting those 2-line emails. Oh, it's not for us. Oh, try again next time. Maybe another publisher will be interested.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's really, really disheartening. Like you're right. And so I don't envy your position at all.
No. And like the other thing is that a lot of the people who submit to me are sort of doing this for the first time, or they haven't really, like, they're very young career writers, right? Like, so they do take criticism to heart. And that's something I sort of do. Like whenever I do things like, a podcast or an interview, I always try to get this message across that criticism isn't, like, it's good for you as the writer. You just need to understand that. So that's an added layer of stress that sort of comes with it. I'm like, oh God, I hope they're not offended.
I was reading Stephen King's memoir on writing. I don't know if you've checked it out. It's one of the best advice you'll ever get on writing. And so he writes this really beautiful passage about how the first rejection note he got, he took it and he put a nail on the wall and he stuck it on it to keep himself reminded. And then as soon as by the end, before he got published, that nail was like, I think 6 inches long, and it was filled to the top. Like there was no more space for him to put rejection papers on. And like that's a lesson that you have to learn over time. Like it's easier said than done, I guess. But when you feel it, then you're like, oh, I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
When did you start writing? When did this writing journey start with you? Because I remember I was like 11 when I wanted to become a writer.
I think I started writing when I was fairly young. So I would say, how old were we in grade 3? Whatever. I was in grade 3 when I started writing.
9? I think 8 or 9.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. Not good at math here. So,
that's why I'm in the arts.
So, yeah, grade 3 is when I started writing. Those really like grade 3 stories, I went and did this, things like that. But obviously it grew from there.
And all that stuff.
Exactly. All of those things. I did this on the weekend. Did that for a while, but that's when I started writing. And I think what helped me was that my teacher then sort of understood that he likes doing this. So she sort of gave me more work to do, which was annoying then, but looking back, I'm quite happy that she did that. So I started doing writing back then. But I didn't think of it. I didn't think to show anyone till much later, because I think through much of middle school, I used it as a way of like therapy almost.
Yeah.
So I used it for that. And then it sort of, that was good practice. And I think that helped to sort of improve my craft as much as possible. And then once I was towards the end of school, beginning university, that's when I got some confidence and started showing people. And I did the same thing. I showed friends, but still, I think that was an important step, at least.
Of course, Just having the confidence for you to be like, okay, I wrote this. Yeah. This is something that I did. Please appreciate it. It's a very like it sort of matures you as a writer, because then a lot of my friends who write, they are very hesitant to show it to people. And I've realized that I guess I was lucky enough to have that confidence to be like, no, this is something I wrote and I want you to read it. It takes a lot of people a lot of time to get over that hunch. Like,
absolutely.
Go ahead.
So like a friend of mine, he is currently doing his MFA in digital illustrations.
Oh, that's awesome.
We were talking about feedback and things like that, because obviously, as someone who has no aesthetic value, I just whenever he makes something, I'm like, wow, this is fantastic.
This is amazing.
How do you do it? Yeah. He's like, so he was talking about how he was getting this really like intense feedback from his grad school group. And he's like, obviously what they reject is what I show you guys, because you all give me validation and that's what I appreciate. And I was like, okay, then I feel okay doing this. So he like, so
it's hard to, sometimes it's also hard to like sort of believe the validation as well, because if you believe the validation, then you also have to believe the criticism. Like if someone tells you your short story is the best thing they've ever read, you're the next Hemingway, and then that same short story is like hated by another person, so you're like, which one is right? It's tough. Absolutely. But like we have a mutual friend, AR, right, Abdurrahman, and he's great. Like he's someone that I don't know if you were talking about him during your story, but his visual aesthetic is so good, and he made the cover for the Desi Collective, which I absolutely love. Talk about working with him a little bit, because I think he's a genius, and nobody is like taking heed of it. And I'm like, why isn't someone picking this guy up? He's absolutely brilliant. No, honestly, I love him.
I think he himself doesn't take himself seriously, so
which is good. I don't think people should take themselves that seriously, but
but. Thoda sa, I think he needs it a little bit. You know what I mean?
A little bit, yeah. Self-confidence.
So if you're listening, AR, just listen to us.
Big fans,
big fans here. But again, I sort of worked with AR when he was at Mangoas as well. So we sort of had a professional relationship as well. And I never, again, because he does a lot of things, he wears a lot of hats. So I never thought to ask him in the first place, at least for the second issue. Because like, he's busy, he probably won't have time. But then he approached me himself. Again, like I said, I have no aesthetic value, so I just told him what my general ideas were, and then he made something out of that. So he knocked it out of the park. And the same thing with the third issue. I was like, okay, so I think there's, I think that, and like he sort of, obviously the poor guy, he had a couple of iterations of design, but he finally came up with the cover that we have now, which is fantastic.
Which is better than the second one.
Exactly. Much
he outdid
better.
himself.
And he outdid himself. And the thing is, so again, I'll make this point a third time because I have no aesthetic value. Once I saw the
We've
initial,
established that.
we established that. Okay, I won't say it again. But once I saw the initial design that he sent me, I was like, oh, this is great, love it. Like it was the same design, but a couple of things were different. Like there were some greens, there were more blues, all of that. I was like, looks fantastic, great. Sending this to the printer. He's like, no. Actually, he waited a few hours and then he's like, acha, no, wait, I need to do this again. So I was like, no, I need to send
epiphany.
Yeah. I was like, no, I have to send this to the printer or whatever. But he's like, no, just trust me. I want to work on this. And then he came back with this. And I was like, okay, fine. Like, I get it. Totally worth it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So again, I think I'm pretty sure a lot of people don't have it that easy when they work with a designer. But I have been blessed to sort of have just like, I just throw words at him and he does something with it.
Yeah. I'm also like very, like, sometimes I'm very wary of like situations where if you have creative friends and then you ask them to do a creative endeavor and let's say you don't like it. That's a very difficult position to be in, to be like, I know I asked you to do this and I'm probably going to pay you or whatever, but I just don't think it fits with what I was imagining. That's such a weird place to be in. That's why it's really hard for me to work with friends who are artistically inclined because I'm like, I don't want to ruin our relationship.
Yeah. Exactly. No, but that's why I feel incredibly happy with the relationship that I have with him, where I haven't had a moment to really complain.
No way. He's great. So, I had him on the podcast as well because I got hooked to his podcast. First, I don't know how I wound up on his Instagram page. Then I went on Mosiki and I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Like, where's the audience for this? Like, I am the audience for this. And then I got him on the podcast. I was like, please come and talk to me. And then we talked for like an hour. It was one of the best conversations I had. Just about like the music business and like what's going on in Pakistan and all that stuff. He has a very interesting outlook on what is happening and I love it. So with Desi Collective, where does it go from here? Like, where do we see it in like a year, 2 years even? Are we trying to make it into like the next, I don't even know what to compare it with because we don't have something competitive for it. It's such a unique thing on its own that it's very different to put it into another box.
So the hope for this year is, and what I'm doing different this year is I want to get out a couple of digital issues that are purely just on digital platforms. Again, this is just to sort of experiment a little bit, see what's possible. Yeah. And with this, I'm sort of having a more, I think the digital issues are important for me because it sort of extends the boundaries of what Desi Collective is in terms that it'll have, illustrations in it. If someone wants to put up like an audio-visual experience, like that is possible.
Graphic novels even, right?
Exactly. So it gives me that capability to sort of do those things. And again, it helps me reach out to people who are outside Pakistan because doing business in Pakistan is a tricky business in itself. So sort of doing it digitally helps me to do a lot of things and reach more people. So that's one thing I'm going to do this year. And the other thing is I'm going to have just 2 print public issues. So outside of the third one, there'll be 2 other ones that come out in print. And these will be more, I think it'll be a more, I don't know how to put it, but it'll be better designed. It'll be more immersive in the sense that there will be more art within it. There'll be different typography and things like that. So it's sort of, again, experimenting with what we can produce within Pakistan.
Basically, like we're like broadening the horizon. And I say we because I very much feel a part of this. Like, I was so excited when my friends in Pakistan, like they bought the issue and they would send me pictures of my story, like in print form.
Yeah.
I felt proud of it being a writer. And then I felt proud of the whole collection itself. Cause I was like, there's so many other beautiful stories in there that are being told. And I was really proud of that. And that's why I take equal, like, I don't know, like, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I feel like I'm also a part of it.
Of course. No, definitely.
For the most part.
Yeah. So exactly. It's sort of like a broadening of horizons, seeing what's possible. I think what's really important with, working in business nowadays is you need to be innovative as much as possible.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just trying to experiment as much as possible, bring in as many crazy ideas and see what sticks. It's sort of giving some time for them to work as well. So I think I'll be taking it on a year by year basis.
Sure. Yeah. So how many issues a year are you targeting? 3 or 4?
print, there'll be 2, and then digital ones, there'll be 4.
Okay,
4.
that's good.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
quarterly,
I forgot
that seems like, because I'm assuming a lot of work goes into this, right? Like we talked about.
Yes.
And you have other reservations as well. You can't keep like putting so many hours into it.
Exactly. Like initially I thought, I'll do one, digital issue per month. And I was like, okay, no, you have a full-time job to like calm down.
What is your day job then?
So I work at an NGO. It's called Digital Rights Foundation. So I sort of work on digital rights in Pakistan and things like that. So I work with their...
That takes up most of your daytime.
Yeah, 9 to 5, that's what I do.
Yeah.
And then after 5 p.m., I'm like, well, okay, I do Desi Collective and I also have my own podcast. But I mean, so your podcast has an aim and like a drive behind it. This is just me and a friend.
So you think.
No, but at least overtly there's like, a projection happening.
Yeah.
But in our podcast, we just sort of, if I can say this, we just bitch about everything.
Yeah,
we just go crazy.
Yeah.
It's me and a friend. She's also in Canada, and we just sort of go over everything. So
basically, that's exactly how my brother and I started as well. Because my brother is a huge cricket fan. Like he used to play for the under-19 team in Canada and all that stuff.
Oh wow!
And we would watch cricket together, and he would just like be like, "What? Kya kar rahe hain yaar ye?" And then like he would go on this whole rant. I'm like, that was genius. Why didn't anybody record this? And then that's how it started. It's literally how you and your friend started. Like I feel like bitching about things really gets the creativity out of you.
Yeah, absolutely. So so I do that, and then also Desi Collective. So it's a lot of things happening.
So how does the Desi Collective then like not injure, but I guess interfere into your own like writing journey? Because I was reading into it, and there was this I think it was a South Asian Writers Trust that you got selected for. Am I messing up?
Yes.
So, and you're going to be working under like Fatima Bhutto, who is amazing.
So I think, so the first 2 issues thoroughly took up my time in the sense that I didn't budget my time well at all. So I didn't write anything. I mean, I wrote some things, but I wasn't really writing. And that's when I was like, okay, you need to, figure this out. Like, you can't go back to not writing again. So again, I sort of budgeted time. And with the 3rd issue, what's important for me personally is that I worked with a publisher, like a small publisher here as well. So she sort of dealt with the registration, the layout, all of those things. So that freed up some of my time. So I was able to write and do my own thing. This time I definitely had more of free time to do my own writing, sort of figure out the things I wanted to work on. That's when the mentorship program thing happened as well. Sort of I applied for it and all of those things happened. So again, I think I'm now in a place where I'm like, okay, I can do, X to Y time for, Desi Collective, and then I can do work on my own self at this time. So
please talk about the whole mentorship thing, because I also applied for it, and like I was rejected just on the basis of not being in South Asia, which really bummed me out, because I would have loved to work with Fatima as well. But have you been in contact with her? Like, have you shown her any work yet? Like, what is her feedback? How does that work? And are you absolutely shitting your pants?
So as you know, I think the call came out end of last year, towards November. And a friend said, I saw it and I was like, okay, pata nahi if I have time to do this, because again, I had no time organization. But I was like, chalo, I'll do it, because I had 2 stories ready to go. Though they asked us to send us samples in any case. So I wrote it and I sent those in, and at no time did I expect the pairing to be Fatima Bhutto, because she was listed as non-fiction. And I was writing for fiction. So I was like, okay, this is just not possible, right? So I sent those in, and then around the beginning of January, I got an email saying, oh, could you send us a couple of pages of your novel as well? They gave no other details. I was like, okay, guess that
they're very vague.
Yeah, they were very vague. I was like, okay, I don't know if this is good or bad. Fair, I sent it. And I sent another, like, they're like, if you could just elaborate on your pitch, blah, blah, blah. So I did all those things and I sent it across. And then again, towards the end of January, they sent us the email saying, you've been selected, and the person is Fatima Bhutto. I was like,
how loud did you scream? Like,
I was actually my gala was absolutely like I couldn't talk that day,
no, I
but
can totally imagine.
I still managed to show some level of excitement. Um, and yeah, the surprising thing is the other Pakistani writer that she's working with is a very good friend of mine. So she called and she was like, "Who did you get?" And I was like, "No, who did you get?" And we both were like, "Father Bhutto." We were like,
Are you
great.
both working under Fatma then?
Yeah, we're both working under Fatma.
Oh,
There
that's
are two
great.
other writers. There are two other writers who are non-fiction, and they're both Indian.
Yeah.
But again, all of our time is separate, so we obviously don't get to interact with her at the same time.
Yeah.
And I've had one like video call like this on Zoom with her, which was incredible. I had to really like calm myself
Yeah.
before I was like, okay,
you easily get starstruck, I'm assuming, like, because
exactly.
she's so legendary.
And the thing is, I think the thing with her is that makes her a very special writer in the sense that she has really good connections. So last year, she came for the Horror Literary Festival, and there was a small workshop that she did. So like 20, 25 people were in it, right? Like it was a selection thing. So we got selected for that, both me and the other Pakistani writer, and we went and we spoke to her and everything, and we thought she won't remember us. And that's the first thing. She's like, "Oh, I really thought it was you, and I'm so glad." And I was like, "You remember, like, what even?"
What even
but again,
is the world? Everything
exactly.
is convulging into it.
Everything is, it was just too much for me to handle. But the thing is, and what I'm really, really grateful for is that she is a very attentive reader. And she gave me like proper feedback with what I sent her as well. She's also very like upfront about her criticism and things, obviously, because that's what she's here to do.
So I feel like when she criticizes your work, if she criticizes your work versus your friends criticizing your work, it hits differently.
Oh, yeah. It hits differently. You're like, oh, no. But yeah, like there were some things that she pointed out, and she was like, okay, I didn't think of it like that. Again, it was such a fact. Like I loved that conversation that we had. Now she follows me on Twitter, and I'm very concerned that I just say stupid things on the internet, right? That's just my personality.
Yes.
So I'm like, now I have to be smart. What do I do?
Oh my God, I had the same experience. I wrote an article about Jemima Goldsmith, I think she's being Jemima Goldsmith now. And I wrote it for, I think, Parlo, like a couple of years ago. And like it got semi-viral as it does in Pakistan. And then she followed me on Twitter. And I lost my mind. I was like, what do I do? Like, I can't tweet anymore. Like, it's impossible for me to say anything anymore.
Anything.
And all I tweeted was like, oh my God, Jemima Goldsmith follows me. And 2 days later, she unfollowed me. That's my literally 10 seconds of fame. I was like, that's it.
She was like, this guy is too eager.
That's probably good, because I was like 2 days away from like sliding into the DMs and being like, hi, Jemima.
What's up?
But I totally understand that. I totally understand.
Yeah, I understand like she wants to like connect with us, like, but she follows us on Instagram as well. Again, Instagram is totally ridiculous. I'm like, what do I do? But anyways,
you can't post stories anymore. You can't post pictures anymore. It's insane.
Yeah, nothing. You're out. But in all seriousness, she's a very like great person to work with. I am pretty sure like if you ever have the chance to interact with her, you will like. I think if she really likes someone, or if someone like impresses her, she remembers them.
Yeah.
So, I'm not saying that I'm assuming that I did that, but khair.
Yeah.
But she was very like. I feel like if you ever get that chance, I think you will remember it like forever.
Yeah,
so
I've been emailing her and trying to get her on the podcast, but I don't think she checks her emails very often. but hopefully, like fingers crossed, we are planning on getting her on as soon as we can.
Perfect. No, that'll be absolutely.
She's on the bucket list of just one of those people that represent Pakistani literature in the most like profound way. Like the other person that I can think of that is like on the map, the proverbial map, is I guess like Mohsin Hamid is the only Pakistani writer that people talk about. Meera Sethi is coming out with a book.
Meera Sethi might also do it. She's very approachable.
Yeah, Meera Sethi is also one of those people, but I'm waiting for her book to come out and read it and check her out, because I think it's supposed to come out at the end of the year, right? She has a novel coming out. Oh, really? Does she?
Novel. Yeah.
Oh my God! I haven't done my research. These shows now.
This is her second novel. This is both the siblings have released novels.
Yeah. Like Yeah, I'm a fan of both of the siblings. They're amazing
Yeah.
in both of their ways. And yeah, like when I saw your name on the thing, because they immediately told me I can't apply for it, and I was like, okay, whatever. The second best person to get it was you, and I was so excited. I don't know if I sent you a message, but like this is me coming out and being like, here you go, you totally deserve it, and I cannot wait to see what comes out of those sessions, because there has like, not to put any pressure on you, but like it has to be. It has to be like amazing when you're into that mentorship, and then I see it. I see you just like slouching.
This is too much stress.
This is too much stress. No. You have to take your time and like go with the flow, obviously. But like I'm just very eager to see what comes out.
Yes.
So then you will sort of somehow manage your time with Desi Collective and that as well.
I mean, in the sense that we sort of worked it out in the sense that it works for both her and I.
Yeah.
So it's not too much of a strain for her or me, and it works out that way.
Yeah, for sure. And usually when I have like people who are writers or readers, quote unquote, I usually ask what are they currently reading. So what are you currently reading?
You might think I'm crazy, but I'm reading like 3 to 4 books at the same time.
I read 4 books. I read 4 books at the same time too.
Okay. This is the first time I'm doing it, so I'm a bit like crazed, but I am reading, firstly, I'm reading this book called Hamlet, which is not Hamlet, but Hamlet with an N, not an L.
Okay. Oh, wait. I think one of my friends is
it's
reading
basically,
it.
It's by an
poetry,
author.
Right?
No. So it's basically a reimagination of William Shakespeare's like family's life.
Yeah.
And like what happens to them and everything. So it's like speculative history fiction, which is interesting. Yeah. I am also reading a book called Americana. So it is by a Nigerian author, and the premise is basically a Nigerian woman moves to America and then comes back to Nigeria. Why she does it and all of that.
Oh wow,
which is very interesting. Yeah, and I'm reading 2 nonfiction. So one is Azadi by Arundhati Roy, because it finally reached Pakistan. I was like, get it. Yeah. And the other one is a book called Believing Women in Islam. So, I saw this on.
So you're sort of like hitting all the spectrums at once. Like the non-fictions are also like all over the place.
Non-fictions are like everywhere.
Yeah.
And
as well as the fiction. Yeah.
So, and then per se, like once I had the session with Fatima Bhutto, she recommended a couple of books. So I read those also in the middle. So it's been all over the place.
So my next question would be, how do you find the time to read it? Because like as a writer, the number one advice that anyone will give you is read. That's it. That's your ammo. Like that's what you're going to take when you write. And the thing that I struggle with is like with school and with work and with all of those things, social activities, even interacting with your friends, you find such a sliver of time to read, like 35 minutes, 40 minutes. How do you manage to do that then?
So now our office is sort of open a few days a week. So I go about once or twice.
Yeah.
And my commute is quite long for Lahore standard. So I read in the car, read on the way back, and then I just find anytime. Like anytime I just find. Usually I'm early to things. If I have to meet someone, I'm early to coffee. So, I take my book with me because this is Pakistan. People are late. So I spend my time like that.
And how addicted to your phone are you then? I'm assuming not so much. Because that's a constant battle that I have with myself.
Yeah.
Phone, Kindle. What am I
exactly? It's sort of, I'm not overly addicted and I'm not addicted. Like I'm sort of in the middle. Yeah.
So you time manage with your phone as well.
I try to, because again, sort of my job is also social media and communication. So I do need to be on my phone a lot.
Yeah.
And then again, like sort of run the TDC account or run my own account. So I sort of have to also be on social media a bit.
Yeah.
But again, I just try to do it I try to do it as little as possible.
Because I feel like social media eats so much of my time.
Oh yeah.
That's the time that I should be reading, and I'm not. And like I was reading an article by, I think it was John Green, who was talking about how readers who feel bad about being on social media should also realize that that's also reading. when you're reading tweets, that's also reading.
Absolutely.
Articles, status, but like it's just a very different form of reading. Like I don't think that's the content I'm supposed to be consuming as a writer. I should be probably reading more Gatsby or like stuff like that. And then that makes you feel bad. And that's like a whole cyclic thing that I get surrounded by. Yeah.
It's a cycle. Yeah. And no, but I think, of course, if you're someone who's dealing with, non-fiction issues, I think social media is a great place to learn.
Yeah.
And I also think that for fiction, I feel like there's a lot to learn everywhere. I feel like people say some really like crazy stuff on the internet. So you can learn a lot about how to characterize people on social media. That's what I do, especially if I spend too much time on it.
I feel like the doom scrolling aspect of it has really sucked me in. Like it's really, ever since like, I don't know if it affects people back home in Pakistan as much as it did here, but like ever since Trump is out of office, I just feel like Twitter has become suddenly less toxic. And it's not as hateful as it used to be, or maybe I'm just in a different pocket of Twitter. But now that makes me feel better. And then I put my phone down because then I can now pick up a book. I don't even know how to get out of it now, man. I'm so deep into it. I just want to like, my dream is to like get out of here, throw my iPhone away, get a flip phone and move to the cabins. And that's it. And that's the life. Just have like my whole library with me and it
just move. Yeah.
Arslan, any final thoughts before I let you go? This has been great, and I truly appreciate the time that you've given. And anything you want to tell our listeners, anything you want to tell our viewers about the Desi Collective, about your projects, anything you want to plug? Now's your time.
So yeah, though, again, Desi Collective, would love if everyone could support, follow. We've recently launched ourselves on Patreon, so that is an exciting new development. So it's especially for the people who are outside Pakistan. If you're in Pakistan, you want to do that, perfectly fine. So yeah, would be very happy if you supported us there as well. And yeah, and if you want to listen to two people who are woefully underqualified to talk about and bitch about things, you can listen to my podcast called Bichari. And
I love that name. That is the best name.
We decided we found our name much before we decided to do the podcast. We're like, if we do anything, this is what we're calling it.
This is it.
This is it. So yeah. You can definitely do that. You can see both sides of my personality in these things.
Yeah, and obviously, you wear so many hats as well. Like there's definitely going to be overlap, and I will check it out now. Like, do you do weekly episodes?
We try to.
You try to be as consistent. I get it. I totally get it. We have the same problem as well, and we try to be as consistent as we can, but it always slips. So it's okay. Totally get it. Arslan, thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Truly appreciate this. And I can't wait to submit more to the Desi Collective whenever I get the chance.
Of course, I look forward to it.
I look forward to it too. Thank you for your time.